Although Jimmy Buffett is best known as a singer and songwriter of such hits as Margaritaville, he is also a best-selling author, businessman, philanthropist, and creator of a very special musical, which brings him here tonight. In 1997, he collaborated with Herman Wouk to create the musical Don't Stop the Carnival, based on Herman's novel of the same name. It's about a successful Broadway publicist who escapes the pressures of life in New York to run an old hotel on the fictional island of Amerigo. If you are one of Jimmy's many fans, also known as Parrotheads, then you know why Jimmy was so attracted to this novel. Jimmy Buffett will not only tell us about Don't Stop the Carnival, but he will also perform a number or two from the same musical. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Buffett.
I told Bill I thought President Lincoln would be proud of him. It's an honor simply to be here and to see my old friend, and moved by those passages from great books. I actually got a multiple choice question when I was asked to come, and found out that I actually could. So I thought that we, Herman and me or I? I'll take a poetic license, Bill, if you don't mind. And we have been perceived and written about in this venture as an odd couple. Needless to say, the shoe probably fits. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people in this room who have known Herman a lot longer than I have, but very few who have spent as much time on the island of Amerigo, or in, as the natives call it, Kinja. It's an interesting story because I'm going to briefly kind of describe this, because people have asked me for years, how in the hell did you and Herman Wouk get together? And I want to take a few minutes to do it, and then instead of reading from the book, which I had to read about 650 times according to my professor over here in order to write for character, I thought I'd revisit my work myself, and I'll be all honest, I had not gone and looked at these songs for about 10 years until yesterday, and I was alone in my little studio up in Sag Harbor, and alone in there I went, this is pretty good stuff. So I had as much fun revisiting Kinja yesterday, and then I decided, well, it's Washington and it's such a forgiving town. Perhaps I had a good run for 2 days in Manassas recently, and I figure I'll just lay it all out there. So, but before we get there, I just thought I'd hit a few wonderful kind of memories and things that I've really not shared with anybody about what it's like to work with Herman Wouk, because collaboration, as both he and I know, is not something that's really our forte. I know I kind of work alone most of the time, and I know Herman does, and the basic fact that when I first started, I was captured by the magic, first of all, as a reader. And when I read Don't Stop the Carnival, just to set things in perspective, I was living on a boat in the Caribbean, and there was this little hotel off of the southern end of Tortola called Soper's Hole that you'd sail by, or you'd go by on the little boat that took us from St. Thomas over to Tortola. And everybody pointed it out as that was the Gull Reef Club. Well, it was not an urban legend, it was a Caribbean legend, and it was somebody else's folly, but it wasn't the Gull Reef Club. But I was introduced to the book on a boat, and loved the characters and loved everything. And once, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, I was working here in Washington at the cellar door for Jack Boyle, and he was such an avid reader of Herman's, and he said, you need to do a musical, and you ought to do Don't Stop the Carnival. And that's how it simply happened. So my mission kind of was to set out in search of Herman Wouk, and I thought he was dead. And that proved not to be true, as Mr. Twain would say. It was kind of over-exaggerated. And so I found out that Herman actually was alive, and I sent him a letter, and he sent me a letter back, and he said, who are you? So that's the way it started, but he agreed to see me, and I went to visit him in Sarah in Palm Springs, and we sat under this lucky tree, and I described the problem I had with this is I read and I loved the book so much that I took the fictitious characters and the setting and the plot, and they affected me so much that I actually bought a hotel on a Caribbean island. And as I explained this whole thing to Herman, that my folly was the byproduct of his work, he went, "You don't need me. You've already got your mistake here." So, but anyway, something was in the air, magic or whatever, and luck and good fortune, because he was between projects and I was kind of between things. And a long story short, we wound up writing this together. A lot of it done in Washington. We actually staged one of the second comings of Carnival at the arena stage down on the Potomac River. But I think that it was a wonderful kind of connection, because I found out that we were island boys at heart. If you think about it, Herman had gone from Fire Island to St. Thomas to Kinja, and I'd gone from Key West to St. Bart's to Kinja. And along the way, it was just such a unique experience. Then I think, I was learning more about how to do this, because I'd never done it before. And let's face it, as a shameless entertainer, you make a lot of stuff up. And some of it works, some of it doesn't. But with a man like Herman Wouk, I knew some of this stuff was not working. And I had to sit down and I had to tell him, I said, I may have bitten off more than I can chew here. I said, I'm not a trained musician. I've never done a musical. What I did is I went and I rented 3 videos. I went and rented South Pacific, Black Orpheus, and Fiddler on the Roof. And I watched and I kind of timed it. That's the only any kind of scholastic work that I really possess to write. I'm not sure I can write this musical. And I was like, as a Jesuit altar boy, I felt I was in confession here. And he listened patiently, and I thought, man, I don't know how he's going to take this, but I got to tell him, because he always told me to be honest with him. And at the end of it, he just said to me, "Didn't Irving Berlin only know how to write in B flat?" And that let me loose. And with Herman's help and with his inspiration, I did this thing. And I saw a dear friend, Ann, out here, and she said, "Was it ever successful?" And I said, financially, no. And that weird cousin of mine, distant cousin, would tell you to take the money out of the equation and see if you're having fun and then do it. And that's what it was. I think that the years that I spent meeting, learning from, and enjoying our time together was some of the most valuable time as a writer that I've spent. And in the end, I learned many things from Herman. I learned about Jewish holidays and not to ever call him after sunset on Friday. And I learned that a page a day will get you a Winds of War. And young writers that ask me for my accidental success in writing about it, I always quote, "How do you do it? You write a page a day." And the other thing that I guess I learned from him was that there's a story everywhere, and authenticity is really the basis of great fiction. And I thought, well, I'm going to try it out. And again, at the end of that run of Carnival, we ran it in Miami to great reviews and audiences. We went to the Bahamas, which was, and again, another episode that we've threatened to write a book about the making of Don't Stop the Carnival, because you wouldn't believe this stuff that goes on. But in the end, our job was to try to get to the Great White Way. And we didn't make it, but we were close. And I've never told this story, and I think maybe I told it to Herman, but I went to New York once, and there were some producers there that wanted to do it, and I went to this meeting. They'd seen the show and liked it. And they said, "Yeah, we're all excited about this. This will be great, but there's one little thing we'd like to bring up." And I said, "Yeah, what's that?" They said, "Well, the music we really like, but the writer." And I sat there and I thought, I get it, okay. So they want to fire Herman. And I thought, this is interesting. So I think I went back and told him, but I just thought, you know, we were partners in this together, and whatever success the Great White Way wanted from me was not going to happen without my partner, my friend, and my rabbi. And we are still friends today, and we never made it to Broadway, but the carnival is still happening. So I hope to take you through it right now. Besides this, I will tell you that there were many nights when we were auditioning in New York where I would go home early, and Herman would be left with Ken Lundy, our piano player, singing Making Whoopee at 2 o'clock in the morning. Herman Wouk singing Making Whoopee. Picture that. Oh, man. Tough-looking crowd here out there. You don't mind if I take my shoes off. I'm very nervous about working not barefooted. That's just comes with the territory. I try to condense this, as I said, I did it in a crash course last night, so I'm going to try to take you on a very simple 13-minute and 11-second run through the island of Kinja and the world of Don't Stop the Carnival. And I just say that I live with Carnival, and I live with these characters still to this day, and I think I will as long as I live, because they're so magic. And it was the first time in my life I ever had to write on a sign. But I mean, I'm making this stuff up on my own, but then I had characters, I had plots, had things to deal with, and it was hard work, but so gratifying. And as I said, as I listened to it last night after 10 years, I think it'll be around for a while. So thank you for the inspiration, Old Lion. And if I make a mistake, hell, let's blame it on President Lincoln, okay? He's not here. Have you ever dreamed of escaping from your dull existence to a life on a tropical island? Well, this is the story about a man who did it, a real person, whose true adventure became a legend. On the Caribbean island known as Kinja or Amerigo, the legend of Norman Paperman. Kinja's the name of the island. It's been Kinja for 200 years. But remember, paradise doesn't come without a price. Let me make that abundantly clear. This is the legend of Norman Paperman. Tales from the islands we'll tell. Chasing illusions can get quite confusing. Is it a dream or a nightmare? This is the legend of Norman Paperman. Tales from the island we'll tell. Chasing illusions can get quite confusing, 'cause heaven can turn into hell. And Kinja's the name of our island. It's been Kinja for 200 years. But remember, paradise doesn't come without a price. Let me make that abundantly clear. Kinja, our beautiful island, in the Windward Archipelago. We've been English, French, and Dutch, never seemed to matter much. Now we're officially Amerigo. We're Kinja, still Kinja, our Kinja, yeah. We're Kinja, our Kinja, we're Kinja, yeah. If you don't know the book, Norman Paperman is a public relations man on Broadway. Has a heart attack, moves to the islands, and finds it all, or so he believes. Up every morning, out in the evening, hustling for headlines, that's what I do. Table at Sardi's, grappling for gossip, work in the press for a minute or two. I went full throttle, never would slow down. Then out of nowhere, a mild heart attack. Middle-age crisis, faced the big question, had to get off of that foolish fast track. It all started out as an ad in the paper. Now it's turned into a tropical caper. But it's only public relations, and that's what I do. Public relations, ego inflation, that's what I do. Isn't it wonderful, isn't it fabulous? Public relations, hullabaloo. And then the wisdom of the woman behind the man comes in. Henny brings up a little bit more than fantasy. Give this some thought, Norman. Things can get sticky. Down in the tropics, wine turns to glue. But I've never seen such a beautiful ocean. Holy sweet Jesus, he's got no clue. I'll buy this hotel, I'm expatriating. Me as a landlord sounds intoxicating. It's only public relations, who's screwing who. And then the island reality hits Norman Paperman like Jim Cantori in a Category 4 hurricane. And the island speaks to Norman. Mr. Paperman, go home. Listen to me. Pretend you had a nightmare and you just woke up. This island is a hoodoo. There's death, and that's just the beginning. Whatever you've invested, forget it. Go back to New York. Go home, Norman. But not our man Norman. I felt the ground shake. I'm out of water. Critical picture, but things ain't that bad. We could be living in communist China, wearing pajamas and shouting comrade. I'll buy Gulf Reel, it'll be my salvation. We're only talking a few renovations. Goodbye to public relations, it ain't what I do. Goodbye forever to public relations. Public relations no longer my fate. This is my island and these are my people. Starting life over is never too late. Then Norman runs into a few problems on the island. H2, H2O. H2, H2O. All about the water, don't you know? Kenji needs the water, the H2O. All about the water, there ain't no lie. We don't get the water, we shrivel up and die. Champagne sea, agua no. Champagne sea, no H2O. To hell with all we go. Champagne sea, agua no. The Gold Reef Club's not too ship-shape. Time for a party out to break. Tonight all our troubles will disappear, 'cause champagne is cheaper than water down here. H2, H2O. Callaloo, strange Callaloo, mysterious, curious route. Try as you might to avoid the hoodoo. Sooner or later, we're all in the stew. Callaloo's the local stew made by Sheila, the cook at the Gold Reef Club, who saves Norman in the end. Night after night on that terrace out there plays a melodrama could equal Shakespeare. They may tell themselves that somehow they are not, but take it from me, we're all in the same pot. Take it from me, this is no Camelot. One of the things that happened in the middle of writing this thing is I got a note from Herman. I had to tell him what reggae was. He didn't quite know, and I explained who Bob Marley was at the time. And I said, you know, besides you and St. Thomas and satellite TV, Bob Marley is the other thing that has affected the culture of the Caribbean beyond any possible imagination. And he wrote me back a great note after I sent him Catch a Fire by Bob Marley. And I think I'm going to donate that letter to the Library of Congress. This is a song, a reggae song I wrote for him about the 1,000 steps that Norman has to climb one night to get to the top of Kinja. A 1,000 steps to nowhere. That is all I see. The night is asking questions. Where and what for me? 1,000 miles from Henny, who warned me from the start. I feel foolhardy, I miss Sardis, thought I was so smart. Down is up and up is down. That's just life in Kinja Town. The natives and the castaways, that's just life for me these days. Down is up and up is down. That's just life here in Kinja Town. The natives and the castaways, that's just life for us these days. And then there was the Hill Crowd. Hill Crowd were the swells who lived on the top watching Norman's world crumble. And out of all the songs in Carnival, I don't know why, but I love this song more than all of them. I don't know what it was about it, but I'll give it to you anyway. We come from a long line of lenders who get rich just exploiting you spenders. But now we just manage our blender. Up, up, up on the hill. Well, it helps to be charming and funny. Have cute names like Binky and Bunny. But the main thing still oodles of money. Up, up, up on the hill. Now our blood is decidedly bluish. You know where this is going. We're leery of anything newish. And of course, darling, nobody's Jewish. Up, up, up on the hill. Up on the hill, we own the cool breezes. Up on the hill, we are the big cheeses. Top of the hill, that's where we know we belong. Up on the hill, above the confusion. Up on the hill we live our illusions. Up, up, up on the hill. Now, you Congress people, I didn't do that on purpose. It's long ago chances, strange circumstances, long ago prances and island voodoo, green flash at sunset, young love recapture, just an illusion, would it be true? Whew, I made it. Hey now, mine host, don't be so melancholy. You made the most out of Amy Ball's folly. You went crazy, ran off with an actress, and never got rich. What can I say? I still love you, you son of a bitch. Norman, New York's gray and cold, but somehow I now miss that. Running this Gull Reef Club boarded on hand-to-hand combat. Buddy, you beat the odds, water gods, now it's time for shalom. Hey, Mr. Paperman, I think it's time to go home. Time to go home, Norman, time to go home, Norman. Hey, Mr. Paperman, time to go home. Chasing illusions can get quite confusing. Hey, Mr. Paperman, time to go home. To hell with bureaucracy and island mystery. Let's clear the air, dear. No more affairs here. To hell with the hill crowd and life or death parties. I know a guy who has contacts at Sardis. Hey, Mr. Paperman, I think it's time to go home. Time to go home, Norman, time to go home, Norman. Hey, Mr. Paperman, time to go home. Chasing illusions can get quite confusing. Hey, Mr. Paperman, time to go home. Thank you. Don't stop the carnival.
Thank you.